Tim Hugh. Well, on Monday night, we canvassed the views of members of the Jewish community here in Britain on the impact of all this on them. Tonight, we're going to explore some of the views within the Muslim communities here. I'm joined now by Ali Miraj, who's on the Conservative Party Policy Review Committee, Asim Siddiqui of City Circle, and Aki Nawaz of Nation Records. Ali, first of all, do you accept that Hezbollah started this current part of this conflict and that Israel has the right to defend itself?
Yes, I do.
Both parts of that?
Yes, I do. I do think Hezbollah started it. I think there's very little doubt that that was the case. And I also think that the Israelis have every right to live in peace and security and to defend themselves. The issue really is whether the reaction that the Israelis have gone down and this present situation we have ourselves in now is really in Israel's long-term national security. And I don't think it is.
That's a disproportionate question.
Is it a disproportionate question, exactly.
Aki, do you accept that Israel did have to respond to what Hezbollah did?
No, absolutely not. I mean, you can't take it from the timeline that you've decided, or it was based from the two soldiers. These were soldiers. This timeline has begun 50 years ago, so are we trying to kid ourselves that it just started on the kidnapping? I mean, Israel has been kidnapping Lebanese people, Palestinian people for years and years. And, I can't believe what Ali's just said. And this is part of the frustration and the double standards and the kind of context from the West for this position and these things that are happening in the Middle East. We seem to have no idea. I've spent time down there in Lebanon,
meeting people in Hezbollah,
meeting people on the streets, and it's almost like Christians and all, they're all into Hezbollah as a political system. They actually value Hezbollah. They know they've done great.
You don't agree with that?
No, I don't agree with that analysis.
Well, there was a poll. There was a poll just 2 or 3 days ago, which actually said that 87% of Lebanese people support Hezbollah.
Okay. Now they do.
Now they do. They didn't before. But just let me bring in Nazim for a second. I mean, how do you regard Hezbollah, and how do you think most British Muslims should do, given that they wish to destroy the State of Israel? They do not want a two-state solution.
We can certainly have a conversation in terms of who started it, but I think the discussion that we should perhaps be having is how to end this conflict. I think one of the questions that Israel certainly has is what kind of state does it want? Does it want to live in a situation of perpetual conflict with its neighbours, or does it want to eventually sit down with its neighbours, the Palestinians, the Lebanese, and work out agreed borders?
But when the Prime Minister is saying, for example, that there is an arc of extremism in the region, and that the people of goodwill of all faiths have to come together to sort it out. I mean, do you agree with that?
The moderates are being squeezed. The moderates who actually believe that there should be an understanding, we should get around the table and discuss these issues, are being squeezed, because if you see people being killed in Qana, and this is where it's not in the long-term national security interest to do this kind of thing, you alienate people. And as far as the radicalization of opinion within Lebanon goes, before Hezbollah actually did this thing, just afterwards, Lebanese people on the street would have thought that, yes, they did provoke it. Now, because they seem to be resisting the aggressor, which is now Israel, their currency in the region has gone up massively. They are seen as the saviours of the Arab world.
Well, never mind the currency of the region. What about the currency in Britain?
Absolutely.
It's gone up
Absolutely. It'll be felt on the streets of Watford and Bradford here, just as it is on the streets.
I don't think it helps in terms of the ambiguity this government has shown with respect to Israel and the close proximity that our government has taken with respect to the United States. I mean, that clearly doesn't help. It doesn't help moderate Muslim viewpoints. It does squeeze out the moderate voice and almost allows the radicals to simply say, well, look, there you go.
But where is this moderate voice in Britain? I mean, where are people saying, Hezbollah should stop this or whatever? Where is this moderate voice?
The moderate voice is there, but what you are getting...
No, but Tony Blair is not moderate. Mr. Bush is not moderate. I mean, let's get real about this. We're talking about the slaughter of human beings here. This is not a little riot up in Bradford, right? And to actually even give any credibility to Tony Blair and Mr. Bush to be of some kind of moderate school of thought, you're really off.
I agree with that.
You're off the line. Even non-Muslims and people in Britain should be ashamed of Tony Blair being in power.
You think he's right, but where's the moderate Muslim voice?
Well, the issue here is that Blair may go around and giving speeches in the US saying that it's a battle of ideas and we must work with the moderates. But then on the other hand, he's he's not making a statement on this issue at all. He's alienating moderate Muslim opinion. I mean, if you go into a war, for example, in Iraq, and then you actually don't call for an immediate ceasefire in this particular situation, all you're doing is going to massively alienate moderate Muslim opinion. And people think, well, hang on a second, this may placate the neocons in Washington who'll be dancing around the Oval Office, but it certainly doesn't actually add to a situation of stability in the Middle East. All you're having is a radicalised.
Have been taken for a ride. The moderates in this...
The moderate Muslims have been taken for a ride.
The moderate Muslims have been taken for a ride, they've been used and abused, and now what needs to happen is the moderates needs to step back and let some people with passion, sincerity, deal with the issues on an equal basis. This is the biggest problem, that this government has made fools out of good people, the moderates, and now that time is over.
Well, I think one of the issues that, in terms of Tony Blair's speech, I mean, he's right to identify issues surrounding Islamist extremism, but the problem is twofold. One is that this government's foreign policy has fueled extremism, hasn't dissipated it, has fueled it, and we have to understand and accept that. But also, what about extremism in other communities? You have Christian fundamentalism on the rise in the world, you have Jewish fundamentalism, you have Hindu fundamentalism as well. I would like to see a world where there is no religious fundamentalism, so we need to have a consistent approach across the board.
Right, but we also live in a world where many of the victims of Islamic extremists are Muslims themselves. They are from Turkey to Indonesia and so on. So where is the moderate Muslim voice talking about that within the community?
Well, they should come forward, and they haven't done. But what you have is a situation now, for example, that's happening in Lebanon, where people are now being radicalized. They think, well, hang on a second, let's look at the situation, let's look at what's happening here. No one is listening. We've got a situation out of control. We've got a situation where there was a state that was being normalized, and now is going to come again within the Iranian-Syrian axis.
I mean, when we're talking about extremism, I mean, we've got to be really careful. Come on, Britain can't be that dumb. We can't have become so dumb in these discussions and debates. People say, well, Hezbollah are firing these rockets, and they find 200 and they've only actually killed 15 civilian people in Israel.
But do you not agree it's wrong for them to kill any of the civilians?
Well, Gavin, for me, it's all wrong.
It's all wrong.
It's all wrong, and how are we going to stop it? And the way this government is, the Americans are being, and the Israelis are being, right now, we're being asked, you're either with us or against us. And I'm going to say straight on TV, I'm against you.
Well, even a foreign policy survey just done in the US, Foreign Policy magazine, of 100 leading experts in the US, in US foreign policy, have said that 84% of them disagree that the war on terror is not in US interest.
Okay, thank you all very much. Thank you.